Hi there, I'm Kevin Benedict, Senior Vice President of Solution Strategy here at Regalix. I want to thank all of you out there for joining us today. I'm very excited to be able to welcome Gail Moody-Byrd.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing very well. We're welcoming her to this series, which is the Digital and Marketing Leaders series of interviews. And we're going to have fun talking about all kinds of great stuff today, Gail.
Sure. Old things, new things.
I know. We've known each other virtually and probably at different events for a long time.
Yes, 10 years.
10 years, absolutely. So let's talk about your title here. Vice President and Head of Web Marketing at SAP.
Yes.
What do you get to do in that role?
So it's really interesting. It's a new role. It was created to do a couple of things. SAP.com is going through a transformation. And we are moving from a site that largely generated awareness and shared information to a site that really is driving more business value. And so the team that works for me does a couple of things. We manage the pages, products, industries, get all the information online, but increasingly we're responsible for the performance of the site. How are our pages performing? How are they connecting with our visitors? Making sure that every interaction is one that is sought after. So we're giving lots of opportunities through chat and other things for people to engage with the site. And then on the other end, we're making sure that the handoff from the website to the sales team is clean and clear and effective, and that the leads they're getting are leads that are qualified from people who are really interested. So it's an exciting time, and it's a brand new role.
Before we went on and started recording this, I was just telling Gail that I think this is one of the most exciting times there is in marketing.
It is.
The number of tools that are out there for marketers is just increasing rapidly. And I would summarize what you just said there, that you're making your website a lot smarter than it used to be.
Yes. Actually, one of our watchwords at Sapphire this year is going to be the intelligent enterprise. So it's all about, not only for our customers, but even for SAP, bringing more intelligence. The watchword was big data, but I think big data has kind of evolved into data is great. How do you make it intelligent and make it actionable? So actually, we've done something really interesting, because I work for not the CMO, but we now have a CDMO, a Chief Digital Marketing Officer, in addition to a Chief Marketing Officer. And
we needed more acronyms. We were almost out.
Well, marketing has grown as a function, at least at SAP, to such a degree that we needed to split the CMO role into two.
Okay.
And so the CMO is still working on brand awareness, making us a top 10 brand. I think we're number 22 right now, so moving us into the top 10. But the CDMO is driving the business value, working with the regions and working with us to make sure that it's a place that's engaging for customers.
So is that changing your relationship in marketing with sales?
Yes.
In what way?
Yes. So we are part of the sales engine at this point. Okay. So they are backward integrating into us, and we're integrating forward into the sales team. So that means that all the technology that's required to make sure that leads are being passed effectively, that they're being scored, all the technology that, for example, SAP Hybris has, all of that is being employed to make sure that we're an integral part of sales. It used to be that sales didn't think that websites were really that important, that it was more of a showcase or a place to have customer references, but not really a place to do business, and we're trying to change that.
Now that's really interesting. And because the context there is that the data you have on people or customers, you can then use it in real time.
Yes.
So it's more transactional. You're engaging in real time as opposed to just being a content engine that's web enabled.
Yes. Now, in the era of GDPR, it's a really interesting time. We're less than a month away from that. So all of those activities will be compliant with GDPR, but I think it's allowing us to be much more deliberate about engagement with people who visit our site, and I think they'll appreciate that.
Oh, so, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's really for us another chance to rev forward and do some more interesting things. So we're looking forward to GDPR.
Oh, that's great. So in this series, we talk a lot about digital transformation. And I think there's almost no other place where digital transformation is more obvious than in marketing. In what ways have you seen, let's say over the last few years, have you seen marketing change because of emerging digital technologies?
Yes, it's interesting because we preach that for our customers.
Yes.
And I think we've finally gotten to the point within marketing where we're practicing what we've been preaching. So for example, you mentioned the content engine. So we've done a very good job at SAP.com of having great content that customers like to interact with, but transforming that process so that we think of it as a content supply chain that's very efficient is all about digital transformation. What are the tools and technologies and processes that we use to take out the manual exercise and make it more effective is just one example of many, but it's taking things that used to be quite intuitive from a marketing standpoint and making it a lot more using the intelligence that always has resided in the data.
So when we talk about digital transformation, I think about we now have better control and knowledge of the data we do have. So going back to the global data protection regulation.
Yes.
I think that's it, right?
Yes.
So when we're looking at that, it used to be we didn't even know what data we were using. We just did our best, right?
Right.
And it was wild and crazy. We would grab data here and here and here, but now we have to manage it.
Yes.
We have to be able to justify where the data is and how we're using it. And that wasn't possible before digital transformation either.
That's true. So what this era allows us to do is have customers be much more deliberate and intentional with us. We have data that says that by the time somebody comes to SAP.com, 70% of their research is already done.
Interesting.
They've talked to their peers, they've gone to conferences, they've done Google searches, so they know what they're looking for. And so our site will now allow them to say, I'm ready for a trial, I'd like to see a demo, I'd like to talk to a salesperson. And so this is really, people are concerned about some of the Facebook issues, but I see it as really empowering, right? Think about, this is how I'd like to transact with you. And just as we're very deliberate with Amazon, as we're making purchases, it allows people to be much more deliberate in their engagement with SAP.
And that's so important because if you have 10 steps in kind of a customer journey, from awareness back to advocacy, right?
Yes.
And they can say, you know what, I've already done all this research, I don't need to be seeing this, start me here.
Yes. Right.
That's beautiful.
Right. And now our customer journey, just thinking about how things have changed, it doesn't stop at advocacy, because in the cloud world, it's really important for retention and repurchase. It's, if the software is sold but it's not used, we won't get the renewal of the contract. So retention, the buying experience, the retention experience, so that customers are renewing and cross-selling and upselling.
And that's expanding the role of marketing dramatically, isn't it?
Yes.
So you have to continue to market at every step.
Yes.
You're marketing your customer support, your loyalty, your advocacy, everything you're trying to market, right?
Right. And it's part of a continuous journey that's extended. So we're re-looking at the entire supply chain of how someone moves through the process of becoming a customer from a prospect. And it's really interesting. You and I met back in the days of SAP Community Network.
Yes, we did.
Right? And so what's interesting is now so much is coalescing around the strength of your customer base. And the community's become a critical tool. It's gone all the way to the CEO level. Having people who are willing to advocate for you on both ends of the spectrum has been so key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, especially because everybody can do white papers that say their product is the best.
Right.
It's a miracle that everybody's white paper says they are the best, right? Or at least points to their direction. But it's real users and it's real consultants that are out there using the tools, who know what works and what doesn't, that can kind of jump over the marketing material and get to the real world.
Yes, it's an expected part of the customer journey. So it's a real strategic asset for SAP right now.
Oh, absolutely. So in marketing, everybody's talking about two things in particular, personalization and contextual relevance. How does SAP and you in marketing think about personalization?
It's a big deal for us. It's actually a part of what my team does. And I'll give you a really specific example. We've just launched a new brand campaign. You might have seen Clive Owen on TV talking about SAP and the thinking and intelligent organization. When someone watches the commercial, comes to the website, they have a particular experience on the site that talks about some really purpose-driven ways that our software is used.
So they start at the commercial.
Right.
They've taken action based on the commercial.
Yes, come to the website, landed on a page which talks about 4 examples of purpose-driven use of the SAP product.
And that's a directed journey from the campaign. Yeah, from the campaign, it directs them to a particular landing page. Okay.
Yes.
So you know what path they're on.
Yes. So they've come through the campaign.
Yes.
We'd like to eventually get them to a product page
Yes.
if they're so inclined to do that.
Yes.
But as opposed to a hard landing, going to a product page, talking about SAP HANA, we've created some personalized pages that talk about purpose-driven businesses, why it's important, how a particular customer has used our software, and then we start talking about the product. So that's one aspect of personalization. Okay. Another really interesting example is we use a tool called Demandbase.
Okay.
Demandbase looks at people coming to our homepage and automatically, through IP detection, understands who might be coming from a small or medium business.
Right.
We have a proactive chat overlay that pops up and says, hey, I see you might be from a small business. I'm a small business advisor. How can I help you find what you're looking for on the site? So we offer personalized pages as well as personalized engagement through our inbound sales teams. And it's been 2 examples of really, really strong conversion above and beyond our normal run rate because of personalization. So it's really critical. We're doing it using a couple of different tools. I mentioned Demandbase, but we also have a really strong alliance with Adobe, and we're using a full Adobe stack to enable that. And it's one of our biggest initiatives. We just added resources to the team to be able to personalize across the globe. So we're running about 5 pilots now on personalization. Wow.
So let me jump ahead to a question I had later, but are you also embedding things like chatbots in there to respond based on who they think they're talking to?
Yes, yes. But I'll give you a really specific example of chatbots. In India, we've got a huge user base.
Yes.
For APJ, that is the largest site. It's probably our 3rd largest site overall. We've got 50 sites, by the way, that we're running right now. But in India, training is such a huge demand that we're testing chatbots there.
Okay.
People are coming into the site, a bot might pop up, are you interested in training and development? And they can, based on some training that we do, because you know the real work is educating the bots to be able to have realistic responses.
Oh yeah.
So the bots will be able to respond to questions, free up the people who are dealing with customers to deal with customer issues, but quickly triage a training request into the right overlay so that people can get what they want in terms of training. So we're doing that for training. We're doing it for some of our analytics products. They're a little more routine in terms of people just coming in having questions. So we're actively looking at that, but there's this whole step called the education of the bots and really building a knowledge base to be able to have a real-time experience, and it's been quite a journey. But we're very aggressively looking at our program overall. We work with a software called Live Engage, Live Person.
Okay.
And it's another one of our, you're asking about all of our key initiatives. How'd you know? We're spending half my time working on those 2 programs.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So let's shift our conversation over to those people called customers.
Yes.
How have you seen customer behaviors change, let's say over the last 5 years? Are they asking for, you said at one time they might be better educated because they've self-educated before they've even come to the site. Are they consuming content differently? Are they looking at videos more than they're reading white papers now? How do you see customer behaviors maybe even being impacted because of mobile devices and everything else?
Yes, yes. So few interesting nuggets there. I want to get back to mobile, but in this information age, there's so much to consume from a B2C level and a B2B level that our customers are much shorter on time. So we want to provide consumable, snackable information. Videos are critical. So making sure that we have 1 to 2 minute videos that show customers using our product, but also show demos. We call it the see it in action motion. But making sure that people can see demos of the product, move quickly to a trial, and then move quickly to buy the product if they're interested, is the kind of velocity that we're looking for. So speeding up the pace of engagement on our site is really critical. We know that people don't have days, that they've done a lot of their homework, that they're coming and they're looking for a very specific experience. And so we've got a lot of people in our UX team looking at how we can help customers accelerate that. So video consumption, heavy emphasis on demos and trials, and then we're working very, very closely with it. Used to be called SAP Store, it's now called SAP Digital, but making sure that the transaction capabilities are embedded into the website. So we're rolling out 20 products for Sapphire to make sure that that's rock solid, and that's going to be a really important direction for the future.
Oh yeah, so we're looking at not only do technologies continue to advance and change, so we have to stay on top of that, but then we see our customer base is changing in their behaviors as well. So let's shift now and talk about content. So you're in charge of web marketing. Does that also mean that you have to shape the content for partners, so they have different kinds of content, and then you have customers, and then you have internal sales guys? So are there multiple sources of content that you guys have to manage on your own website?
Yes, so there's actually a really large work stream within the web area of SAP, and even it goes beyond web, but it's our content supply chain. It's a major initiative. It's sort of a C-level initiative within the organization, because you're right, the content needs are everything from event content to enabling the sales force. And honestly, it's one of the toughest challenges we have. As content needs become more sophisticated, as Google becomes more discerning about what it will allow to show up on the top of the page for a search result, it's really almost become a technical aspect of our business. Content's just not about writing, it's about making sure that it's effective and it's answering questions that people are asking on Google. So we're increasingly employing agencies to work with our writers to make sure that the content we produce is something that can outpace the competitors, that can show up on page 1 of a search result, that we're getting a share of voice that outpaces our competitors. And so we're constantly, on a daily basis, looking at SEO and that impact on how content is derived.
So do you do also what's called activity-based marketing, where you look at, are people actually reading the content I'm posting? Are people actually watching a video to completion, all that?
Yes. So one of our KPIs is asset consumption rate. And so we're actively looking at whether it's gated content or non-gated content, is the asset being consumed? And then on a regular basis, we're cleansing the site to make sure that assets that aren't consumed are replaced with things that are. We tend to know what works well. Long white papers don't, short videos do, customer testimonials are at the top of the peak in terms of what performs. But that is the job of the web strategist. I have half my team is comprised of people we call web strategists.
It's a cool name.
Yes, and their job is to manage the performance of a page. And asset consumption is the #1 thing that they're managing for.
Wow. With all these changes, that's going to be a very dynamic role, I'm sure.
It is, because we've gone from quarterly reviews to monthly to weekly to really daily and real-time optimization of our pages. That's where we'd like to get. So we're bringing on a lot of performance management people who can help us do that, because just as pricing on Amazon is optimized on a regular basis, we need to be the same in terms of the way we're thinking about the content we're providing. It's a highly competitive market. The cloud market's completely different.
Man, it's so different than it was 10, 15 years ago with websites, which were static brochure pages.
Right. With a bill of materials that was created every 6 months, seasonally. There's no such, we've blown up the bill of material concept, and it's an ongoing, iterative process of reinventing the site every day.
So let's move from that subject now into influencer, the role of influencers and social media. Where does that play? So we've been talking heavily on technologies. And all the cool things around that, and new tools and new capabilities and new demands on our time to respond to those. What's the role of influencers today? Is it greater, or is it diminished, or is it increased over the years?
Oh, it's critical. It's critical. The market is smart enough now to demand that they don't want to hear SAP talking about SAP. We want to hear from people like Dennis Howlett, who are looking at other companies, who are engaged with our competition, and can speak openly and honestly about where we stack up. So there's a whole influencer program. We have a new head of global influencer marketing. And it's a key part of what we do. Our community and our influences are embedded in SAP.com, for example.
And I've been around that for a long time, and a member as a SAP Mentor alumnus and other things. And so they don't always speak kindly to SAP.
No, but that's what we want.
Sometimes they're critical of what different moves that SAP has made, but their interest is to try to align SAP with what's best for everyone.
Right. Yeah. And to enable the user base to have a voice.
Yeah.
So it's really important. But speaking of the importance of social,
yes,
we were around in the days that the SAP community network was all there was, and we saw this emerging opportunity in 2009 to start our social channels. So people like Marilyn Pratt, Craig Schmehill started some channels, but we were really the first team back in another life of mine to brand them.
Yeah.
And we've now grown to about 1,200 social media accounts across the company, LinkedIn, Twitter, even WeChat in some of the Asian markets. So it's really an essential part of the way that customers come to trust your brand. There was this Edelman study that was done just a few months ago. And in terms of what causes customers to trust a brand, one of the essential factors was that this brand is a part of my social media network. So although it's really still difficult to tie social media to direct revenue, to tie it to that deal, we can say that it's a really critical part of the business that we do in terms of engendering trust from our customers and our prospects.
Oh yeah, on my Facebook and other social media channels, there's just a very few companies I want to see updates from.
Yes,
but those are important to me, and I like them.
Right. So we're sort of a part of the fabric of the lives of a lot of our customers who kind of live in this bubble of the enterprise software ecosystem, and we want to be one of those voices.
So Gail, with all the cool kind of futuristic technologies we're talking about that people are using today around marketing, some might be guilty of thinking that we've solved all the problems, but in marketing there must still be big problems we're still trying to solve out there.
Yes.
What's your thoughts? What still needs to be resolved?
Yes. So as we look to the future, we look at things like Alexa. We know that voice search and the ability to get information untethered from a website, from a laptop, from a mobile device is the way the market is moving. And so trying to capture all the artificial intelligence that's out there, but turning it into something that allows for a voice question to be answered by some random voice speaking to a device that's in your ear, that's telling you that SAP's got a solution for you, is the way that we need to think. So as we live in our very IT-based world that thinks about optimizing a website on a laptop for someone who's sitting hands on keyboard, we're already envisioning the world where it's a voice-to-voice communication.
Very good. So that the intelligence is smart enough to not only understand what you're needing and what you're asking for, but can change the entire customer experience based on that information.
Yes, and make it completely virtual, mobile, follow you around. And gee, think about this. What if it could instinctually read your mind, watch your reaction to something at an event, know what it's like a State Farm commercial I've seen on TV where it's anticipating your needs and answering the question before you even articulated it. That's the world we're envisioning.
Absolutely. I could see, speaking to a chatbot or a digital assistant like Alexa and saying, I'm in the banking industry and I'm a leader and I'm looking to optimize something and then have the entire website changed to reflect what can be done within my vertical of banking, and with that product line, and the use cases change, everything else. So my experience is just exactly what I'm trying to find.
Yes, yes. That's the world we aspire to.
Yes.
And we're moving in that direction. And as long as your aspirations are high, and the team is, full of Red Bull, we'll get there. That's what we're working on.
So now let's look at the future. Where would you say over the next, let's say, 2 years, how do you see marketing changing and evolving over the next 2 years?
I think that we're going to be much more data enabled. There used to be room in the marketing world for people who were fully creative, who were the artists. And we still do need them in terms of user experience, user design testing, but it's all got to be data driven. And so what I'm seeing now is the rise of the data analyst, the data scientists that we employ at SAP to help us look at our data and anticipate what we should be doing. That's where all the action is right now. Working for the Chief Digital Marketing Officer at SAP, it's kind of the rise of the data nerd. And so in the next 2 years, I see that only increasing. The people's ability to not only take in data, but visualize it and turn it into an action is where we're going to be going in the next couple of years.
So all you nerds out there, did you hear that?
There's hope.
There's hope. There's hope. You're going to be really cool someday. Gail, thank you so much for sharing
it was great.
Your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom with all of us.
Okay, thanks for the great questions.
And I want to thank you guys for joining us.
Bye-bye.